Today we started a new theatre and education project. Our client this time is Dore Primary School. They want us to create a piece that helps Year 6s transition into secondary school. So naturally our target audience is Year 6s. So we have to be careful with Year 6s because they are the maturest year in their school and maturest year in the school as they are the oldest, but they're actually more mature than say Year 7s because they are the oldest in their school and big fish in a small pond, as they say. So we have to be careful that we aren't patronising to them because that could cause them to switch off from us and take offence to how we're acting with them. So the aims of our piece is to address the worries, any worries that they might have, give advice on different aspects of secondary school, show the differences between secondary school and primary school so that they know what to expect, provide information about secondary school, reassure them that everyone is in the same boat and that they're not the only ones worrying and that everyone over like Year 6 in the country is moving up into a secondary school and having to go through the same things that they are, same experiences, and that they are starting something really exciting, not something that should be dreaded. So we began by brainstorming ideas for this new project. We created a list of worries that we had coming to secondary school. So on our list we had bullying, homework, friends, getting lost, missing the bus, older kids, detention, being the only one scared, exams, violence, sitting in the wrong place, being by yourself, school dinners, having to sit in the lunch hall, not having anyone to sit with in the lunch hall, teachers, SATs/CATs, like those exams, and just growing up in general, having all that responsibility put on you. Because growing up is scary. Because everything starts changing, and change can be scary. And having all these new responsibilities and feeling like you're growing up out of your childhood, and that can be quite scary. So we then moved on and so I brainstormed ideas about the project, and I actually came up with this idea of setting our a piece out like a book, with a book format, to split our sections into chapters to create a physical representation of a survival guide. I thought this would be an interesting idea or interesting concept to explore, as it is very simplistic format that will be easy for the Year 6s to follow so they can focus on the messages and advice given in each section, but also it's an interesting concept of creating a book physically and splitting our worries into chapters, and it's just, I think it's a very interesting concept. So after that we decided to consult our lists of fears and group some of them together to create these groups which we decided to use for each chapter. So the chapters we have so far, we obviously don't have all of them yet, but we have little worries. So these are things like losing your equipment, not having the right equipment, getting lost, finding the work hard, just all these little things that, or even getting attention, just all these little things that are nagging at the back of your mind that aren't like big worries that proper terrify you, just little worries that you think of things that could go wrong. So the next one is a bigger worry, which is friendships. So we were thinking of having like two parts to this chapter. So the first part being going up into secondary school without friends and having to make all new friends, or another part of it is so there's multiple parts of the chapter. Another part of it is making new friends, Another part is losing your old friends, which no one wants to do. It can feel quite scary, but people drift apart, and a lot of times you don't stay with your primary school friends when you go into secondary school. So something out of the next chapter which we came up with was bullying, which we don't want to just say you're not going to get bullied, because bullying is a part of life, a part of school, and it always happens, and it's not nice, but it just a part of life. There's always going to be people who are mean to you. There's always going to be people who pick on you, and that's just life. But what we can do is, instead of just lying and saying that this doesn't happen, because they of course will know it does, is finding advice that we can give them to help them if this happens, and tell them places which they can go for support. And basically that's what this chapter's about, and saying that there are people who have been through this and have survived it and have been stronger for it. So leaving the chapters for a minute, we decided to discuss how we would open the piece. So thinking back to our previous TIE, we started the piece by introducing us as N2C Theatre and creating a very high energy, humorous beginning. So we discussed it, and we decided to use two juxtaposing perceptions of secondary school, which are completely ridiculous versions of secondary school. So we wanted to get these ridiculous perceptions out of the way first, and show that the secondary school is not like this. So the two perceptions we chose are High School Musical, with everyone happy, dancing, full of enthusiasm, everyone ending up in couples. The second one we chose was like a violent school where everyone's fighting and yelling. Both of these scenarios we will act out with high energy and intensity to instantly catch their attention right at the start. So first, I run on with energy and enthusiasm and smiling and saying, "Hi, we're N2C Theatre Company and we're here to tell you about secondary school." Then we instantly break into a few High School Musical moves, and we do a little bit of the dance, presenting this as, this is what secondary school is like. So then we end this by joining together and making a pose that reminiscent of cheerleaders, which kind of goes along with the High School Musical theme. So then we have someone the music switched off, and someone High School Musical isn't like this, it's quite scary. And that's when everything just breaks apart. The with intensity and high energy, the structure which we created with Charlotte lifted up and everyone with their arms up, and that just falls apart, and everyone starts fighting and attacking each other and screaming and yelling. This is then cut short by Caitlin, who says, "What are you doing? Secondary school is not like this either." So we've just completely discredited these two unrealistic versions of secondary school. So then go off, we come into a line, and we start to explore what secondary school is actually like. And we say that we're not actually, we're acknowledging that secondary school is scary at first, and we're not going to tell them that it's not, we're not going to tell them that it's not something to be scared of, because we're not going to tell them not to be scared, because that's not just something they can turn off. But we're going to give them tips to handle, and we wanted to emphasise in this lineup that that we're going to give them tips to help them handle it, and that we survived, and we weren't so different from them. We were exactly in their position, quite a few years ago, but we were in their position, so we know how they feel. So yeah, this can make us feel relatable to them. That first bit, which was very high intensity, high energy, humorous, It catches the audience attention straight away and it uses this humour to create a relationship with the audience straight away, which we want to do, especially since the next bit, which we go on to the lineup, and that's us showing that actually we were in their position and we're trying to create a relationship with them and show that we're relatable and that we understand how they're feeling and what it's like to move up to secondary school and how scary it can be. So we decided that each chapter would be narrated by someone different each time, and each chapter with a monologue would start with a monologue, sharing one of our own personal experiences, which again is used to connect with the audience and make us seem more relatable, and so like we're more trustworthy to them, so they will listen to us, because if they feel like they're connected to us and feel like we're relatable to them, and can see us understand that we were in exactly the same position, so make us seem more trustworthy and more likely to listen to us. So we move on to the first chapter, which we chose was Little Worries, and Megan was going to do the monologue for this one. Actually, when she went to secondary school, she didn't have lots of big worries, she just had the little ones. So for Little Worries, we decided that after the monologue we would create a scene. So we decided we'd start off the scene with having these 3 students in primary school discussing, just being excited, being students. Then we have 2 of them freeze, and one of them, our students, break out of the scene and give an aside, saying what they're worried about. And it's very different to the scene that they're in, so that we have the 2 juxtaposing between how they're acting in the scene and how they act in the aside. So the tone of the scene is very excited, very high energy, very enthusiastic. Whereas when they split off into the aside, it shows her more worried and less excited, and it shows her how scared she is at having to have this change, and it telling us what she's worried about. So Caitlin's character has the first aside, and her fear is getting lost and ended up being late, because no one wants to walk into a room late on like the first day, or when they don't know people in there, because it can be very embarrassing for them. So for Caitlin's getting lost, we then show a scene in secondary school, and we break the primary school scene and open up in secondary school, and we show a scene. We haven't plotted it out yet, but we're going to show a scene where we did a basic block of it, where Caitlin is walking on the corridors and she gets lost, and there's all these people pushing past her, and she's on a room on her own because her friends are in different rooms, are in a different lesson, and we have all these older kids pushing past, and she gets separated, and then she can't find her way. So then we go back into we're planning to unpick this and show that actually it isn't such a big deal to get lost. In fact, there are so many ways that you could find your way. So you could get a map from reception, or you could ask an older student, or you could ask a teacher, or find somebody, because there's always somebody who will be willing to help. So we'll unpick this and make it seem like less of a big deal to them, less of a worry, and find them solutions for these fears. So the next one that we would move on to is we would go back to the primary school scene, have them talking again, freeze, and another student steps out of the scene, has an aside, which is Connie, and we had her worrying about the subjects and how they're going to be harder, and if she's going to struggle. So we break the primary school scene and launch back into the secondary school, where Connie is and a few other students are sat at tables doing work, and she's finding it very difficult. It's difficult to do it, and again we're going to unpick that and show that actually everyone will struggle in the first few weeks. It's such a big change, and the work does get harder, but they ease you into it, and that if you do get stuck, it's not the end of the world. It's not something to panic about. You can find help from so many places, by asking your friends, by talking to a teacher, by even going and asking your parents when you get home. And that, so yes, there's unpicked that one. So we go back to the primary school, and then there's the last student shows her worries, and that's Charlotte, who breaks from the scene and says she's worried about worrying, and she thinks she's the only person who's worrying. So we thought we could facilitate this and show who she could communicate with, and we could ask the primary school kids who could she talk to about this, what options should she have, who and like what could she say, and I could find that she could talk to her friends or talk to her parents about this and just get support. But we've had an idea that we could facilitate each one of them and try and get them to come up with solutions so that they feel like they can handle it themselves without and realise that actually even though if we just tell them the answer and tell them the solutions, they're either going to forget or they're going to think that they can't handle it themselves and that they need someone there with them. But if we facilitate this, so we guide them towards the answers, they would feel like they have handled these solutions themselves, which could be a self-esteem boost and give them more confidence when going to secondary school. So the next thing we did was move on to the next chapter, which goes from little things to bigger things to worry about. So the second chapter is on friendship. So we're going to have Alexis and Caitlin doing the monologues for this chapter. So Alexis's experience was very much when she came to the new school, she didn't come with any of her friends. All her friends went to a different school. So she had to make all new friends, which of course seems to be like a terrifying experience. But for her, so we're gonna she also on her first day she didn't make any new friends, and she thought that meant she wasn't going to make any friends, which again was scary. But we can unpick this and show that actually this was only the first day. It's not the end of the world if you don't make friends straight away. That's what moves on to Caitlin's monologue, who didn't make friends until February, when she started in September, which again shows that it's not the end of the world. You can make friends, and we'll give them we'll unpick this and show that actually there are so many new people at secondary school that you're bound to find someone that you'll have something in common with, and that there are so many places that you can go to help you make friends, such as different clubs you can join, and all this information we will have within the scene. So the first scene we showed was Caitlin in the scene, and she all her friends are in different classes. We decided that we're going to follow these 3 students' journeys. So all her friends were in different classes, and so she's on her own. And so we pick up where Caitlin was when she got lost, so she was on her own. So I want to show, so she's running late, and then I come on as a potential friend, and we meet, and we're both running late, and that's how we connect, and we find a classroom together, and that's how we make friends. But so we're just showing that you can make friends in any situation, that you don't need to force it, that it will happen, and that because there are so many people that there's bound to be someone who you get along with. Also in this section we want to include top tips for making friends, and some which we're going to research about what the best ways they suggest for making friends. So that was all we got up to so far. We didn't get on to blocking or well, we didn't really blog, but creating like a basic outline of the bullying one yet. But so before I forget, something else that we wanted to add into the friendships chapter was a bit that says that it's that not making, so the friendships bit we wanted to have not making any friends. We wanted to have also being drifting away from their friends, because of course, like I said earlier, you don't necessarily stay with the friends that you were, people will stay with the people that you were friends with in primary school, and a lot of people don't. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, that's just part of life. You meet people who you're friends with, and sometimes you go your separate ways, and that's okay. And that it's not as, and yeah, it can be upsetting, but it's something that you can get through, and it's something that a lot of people go through. Also, another thing that we wanted to put in the friendships chapter was a fear of not being accepted, and feeling like everyone's already in their groups, no one wants to make new friends. However, we want to pick that and show that actually everyone's new to this school, and yes, some people already have friends, but everyone's in the same boat, and there are going to be people who want to make new friends and who are open to that, and a lot of the people in who move up to secondary school are. So when we finished that, that was what we did so far on our project. So I feel like we made a really good start on this project, because we really considered our target audience, and we discussed like what kind of language we'd have to use for them, which we wouldn't use as language as crude or full of slang as we had in our last TIE, which of course the target audience was completely different, which was year 10s and 11s. We also, because it's for primary schoolers, we present ourselves as really enthusiastic, full of energy, which will appeal to the target audience and keep their attention. So yeah, we really thought about that. So I think, which we'll use these like things which we discussed about what we should, what's appropriate for the target audience throughout our piece. So we've set ourselves some research to do for next week. So we want to look up tips for making friends, what professionals think are the best ways for making friends. So we can give the primary schoolers good advice on how to tackle this situation. Also about bullying, to again make sure that we give them good advice, and and also general knowledge on secondary schools, because we have experienced it, but there's always more stuff to find out, more stuff to know, and different experiences. Because we have to become, like we did before, have to become experts in this topic, so that we can give good advice and appear knowledgeable, so that people will listen to us. So actually want to give good advice and help people in their transition. So that's what we'll be doing for next week.